Hey there, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with me today because we're diving into such a fun and relatable topic. How does Gen Z date? I mean, dating is already this big, exciting, sometimes messy thing. But when you throw Gen Z into the mix, with all our quirks, our tech savvy ways, and our totally unique vibe, it gets even more interesting. So grab your favorite drink, maybe a snack, and let's chat about this like we're best friends catching up over coffee. I want this to feel super close and cozy, like I'm just sitting here spilling all my thoughts to you, because that's exactly what I'm doing. Let's get started. First, let's talk about what makes Gen Z so different when it comes to dating. I mean, we're the generation that grew up with smartphones in our hands, social media as our playground, and a whole world of apps at our fingertips. We're talking about people born roughly between 1997 and 2012. So that's anyone from their mid teens to late 20s right now. And let me tell you, the way we date is shaped by all the tech we've grown up with. Think about it. Our parents or older siblings might have met their partners at school, through friends, or maybe at a party. But for us, a huge chunk of dating happens online. Apps like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and even TikTok or Instagram are basically our matchmakers. I remember when I first downloaded a dating app, I was so nervous. I was 19 and I had just moved to a new city for college. I didn't know anyone and I thought, okay, maybe this is how I'll meet someone cool. I spent hours picking the perfect photos, writing a bio that was cute but not too try hard, and then I started swiping. And oh my gosh, the options. There were so many people to choose from, and it felt like a game at first. I'd swipe left on someone if their bio was boring, or swipe right if they had a dog in their picture, because, dogs are a green flag. But here's the thing about Gen Z and dating apps. We're not just using them to find a soulmate. Sure, some of us are looking for something serious, but a lot of us are just exploring, having fun, or even making friends. I have a friend, Mia, who's 22, and she told me she uses Bumble BFF more than the dating side of the app because she just wants to meet people to hang out with. And I totally get that. Sometimes you're not ready for a relationship, but you still want to connect with someone new. That's such a Gen Z thing, isn't it? We're so open to different kinds of connections, and we don't always feel the pressure to jump into something super serious right away. Another big thing about how Gen Z dates is that we're all about authenticity. I feel like older generations sometimes had these strict rules about dating. Like, the guy has to ask the girl out, or you have to wait 3 days to text someone back, so you don't seem too eager. But Gen Z? We're throwing those rules out the window. We want to be real, and we want the people we date to be real too. If I like someone, I'm not going to play games and pretend I don't. I'll text them first, I'll tell them I had a great time on our date, and I'll be honest about what I'm looking for. I think that's because we've grown up in a world where we're constantly sharing our lives online. We're used to being open about who we are, what we care about, and what we want. Like, if you look at TikTok, you'll see so many Gen Zers posting about their dating experiences, their crushes, their breakups, all with this super raw, unfiltered vibe. I saw a video the other day where this girl was like, I went on a date, and he didn't ask me a single question about myself, so I ghosted him. And the comments were full of people saying, yes, girl, you deserve better. That's another thing. We're not afraid to walk away if something doesn't feel right. We have high standards, and we're not here to waste our time on people who don't match our energy. Speaking of energy, let's talk about how Gen Z approaches the whole talking stage of dating. If you're Gen Z, you know exactly what I mean by the talking stage. It's that phase where you're texting someone, maybe snapping them on Snapchat, liking their Instagram stories, but you're not officially dating yet. You're just talking. And oh my gosh, this stage can last forever sometimes. I've had talking stages that went on for months, and we never even met in person because we were both so busy or maybe a little scared to take that next step. I think Gen Z loves the talking stage because it gives us time to figure out if we really vibe with someone before committing to a date. We'll send memes, share Spotify playlists, have late night FaceTime calls, and basically get to know each other through our phones. It's like a low pressure way to test the waters. But here's the downside. Sometimes the talking stage can get messy. Like, What if you're talking to multiple people at once? Is that okay? Or what if you think you're exclusive, but the other person is still swiping on Tinder? I had a situation like that last year. I was talking to this guy, Jake, for like 2 months. We were texting every day, sending each other funny TikToks, and I really thought we were heading somewhere. But then I found out through a mutual friend that he was still active on dating apps, and I was so bummed. I ended up asking him about it, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't think we were exclusive yet." And I was like, "Okay, fair, but you could have told me that." Communication is so important, but sometimes we forget to have those conversations because so caught up in the fun of the talking stage. That's something I've learned the hard way. Being clear about your intentions can save you a lot of heartache. Now, let's talk about how Gen Z actually goes on dates. When we finally move past the talking stage and decide to meet up, our dates are usually pretty casual and creative. I feel like older generations had this idea that a date had to be super formal, like dinner at a fancy restaurant, dressing up, all that. But Gen Z, we're more likely to suggest something chill, like grabbing boba tea, going for a walk in the park, or even doing something artsy like a pottery class. I went on a date last month where we just walked around this cute little bookstore, picked out books for each other, and then sat on a bench outside to talk about our favorite stories. It was so simple, but it felt so meaningful because we got to share something we both loved. I think Gen Z loves these kinds of dates because they let us be ourselves. We don't want to feel like we're putting on a performance. We just want to hang out and see if we click. Plus, a lot of us are broke college students or young professionals, so we're not exactly splurging on expensive dates. Another thing I've noticed is that Gen Z is super open to non-traditional dating. What I mean by that is we're not stuck on the idea that dating has to be between a guy and a girl, or that it has to lead to marriage and kids. We're the generation that's all about inclusivity and exploring our identities. So many of my friends are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and they've told me how freeing it is to date in a time when there's more acceptance than ever before. Dating apps have made this easier too. On most apps, you can set your preferences to match with whoever you're interested in, whether that's guys, girls, non-binary folks, or everyone. I have a friend, Sam, who's non-binary, and they told me they love how apps like Hinge let them be upfront about their identity. They said, "I can put my pronouns in my bio, and if someone doesn't respect that, I know they're not for me." That's so powerful, right? Gen Z is all about creating spaces where everyone can be themselves, and that definitely shows up in how we date. Another big part of Gen Z dating is how much we value mental health and emotional connection. I feel like older generations sometimes focus more on physical attraction or practical things, like, does this person have a good job? Or do they look good on paper? But for us, it's so much more about how someone makes us feel. We want to date people who get us, who we can talk to about our anxiety or our dreams or the random thoughts that keep us up at night. I've had so many conversations on dates where we end up talking about our mental health, our insecurities, or the things we're passionate about. Like on one date, this guy I was seeing opened up about how he struggles with social anxiety, and I told him I deal with the same thing sometimes. We ended up bonding over it, and it made me feel so much closer to him because he was so honest. I think Gen Z is really good at creating those deeper connections because we're not afraid to talk about the hard stuff. We've grown up in a world where therapy is more normalized, where people post about self-care on Instagram, and where we're encouraged to be in touch with our emotions. So when we date, we're looking for partners who can be there for us emotionally, not just romantically. That said, I have to admit that Gen Z dating isn't always perfect. One of the biggest challenges we face is the paradox of choice. Because we have so many options, thanks to dating apps and social media, it can be hard to commit to just one person. I've caught myself wondering, what if there's someone better out there, even when I'm on a great date? It's like, I'll meet someone amazing, but then I'll go on Instagram and see all these other cute people, and I start overthinking. I think a lot of Gen Zers feel this way. We're always wondering if we're missing out on something better. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out, and it can make dating really complicated. I've had to remind myself to slow down and focus on the person in front of me instead of always looking for the next best thing. Another challenge is ghosting. Oh my gosh, ghosting is such a Gen Z dating phenomenon. If you don't know what ghosting is, it's when someone you're talking to or dating just disappears. They stop replying to your texts, they don't answer your calls, and they basically vanish without any explanation. I've been ghosted a few times, and it's the worst feeling. Like one time, I went on 3 dates with this guy, and I thought we were really hitting it off. We had so much fun together, and he even told me he wanted to see me again. But then, out of nowhere, he stopped replying to my messages. I waited a few days, sent him a casual text like, "Hey, how's it going?" But nothing. I was so confused and honestly kind of hurt. I kept wondering, did I do something wrong? Did he meet someone else? Eventually, I just had to let it go. But it definitely made me more cautious about dating. I think ghosting happens so much with Gen Z because we're so used to communicating through our phones. It's easy to just stop replying and avoid a hard conversation. But I wish we'd all be a little braver and just say, "Hey, I don't think this is working," instead of leaving someone hanging. On the flip side, Gen Z is also really good at setting boundaries in dating. We're not afraid to say no, to speak up if something doesn't feel right, or to walk away from a situation that's not good for us. I've learned to be really clear about my boundaries when I date. For example, if I'm not comfortable with something, like if a guy is moving too fast or if he's not respecting my space, I'll tell him. I used to worry that I'd seem too picky or high maintenance, but now I realize that setting boundaries is just part of taking care of myself. And honestly, the right person will respect that. I went on a date once where the guy kept pushing me to go to a party with him, even though I told him I wasn't feeling up for it. I ended up saying, "I'm not going, and I don't like that you're pressuring me." He got a little defensive, but I felt so proud of myself for standing my ground. And guess what? We didn't go out again, but I was totally okay with that because I knew he wasn't the right fit for me. I think Gen Z is really good at knowing our worth and not settling for less than we deserve. Let's talk about long distance dating for a minute, because that's another thing Gen Z does a lot. Since so much of our dating starts online, it's not uncommon for us to meet someone who lives far away, maybe in a different city, a different state, or even a different country. I've had a long distance talking stage before, and it was both exciting and challenging. I met this guy, Ethan, through Instagram. We both followed the same artist, and we started commenting on each other's stories. Eventually, we started sending each other private messages, and then we were texting every day. He lived in a different country, which was kind of thrilling because we'd talk about our cultures, send each other pictures of our cities, and even watch movies together over FaceTime. But the distance also made things hard. We couldn't just meet up for coffee, and the time difference meant we were always trying to find time to talk. Eventually, we decided to just be friends because neither of us could handle the distance long term. But I still think it was such a cool experience. Gen Z is so good at making long distance work, at least for a while, because we're so comfortable with technology. We'll send voice notes, share our screens to watch Netflix together, and even play online games as a way to bond. But at the end of the day, most of us still crave that in-person connection, so long distance dating can be tough to sustain. Another thing I love about Gen Z dating is how we use humor to connect with people. Memes are basically our love language. I can't tell you how many times I've bonded with someone over a funny meme or a viral TikTok. It's like, if you send me a meme that makes me laugh, I'm already halfway in love with you. I remember this one guy I was talking to. We'd send each other the most random TikToks, like those POV, "you're a frog in a pond" videos, and we just crack up over them. It was such a fun way to get to know each other because it showed we had the same sense of humor. I think Gen Z loves using humor in dating because it makes everything feel lighter and less serious. Dating can be so nerve-wracking, but if you can laugh together, it takes the pressure off. Plus, if someone doesn't get your humor, that's a sign you might not be a good match. Okay, let's talk about breakups for a second, because Gen Z has a unique way of handling those too. When we go through a breakup, we're not afraid to feel all the feels, and we're not afraid to share them. I've seen so many of my friends post breakup playlists on Spotify or make TikToks about how they're healing with a gallon of ice cream and a good cry. I went through a breakup last year, and I'll be honest, I made a whole playlist of sad Taylor Swift songs and listened to it on repeat for like a week. But here's what's cool about Gen Z. We're also really good at supporting each other through breakups. My friends were so amazing during that time. They'd send me funny memes to cheer me up, take me out for coffee, and remind me that I'm a total catch. I think Gen Z has created this really supportive culture around heartbreak. We know that breakups suck, but we also know that they're not the end of the world. We'll hype each other up, remind each other of our worth, and help each other move on. And social media helps with that too. Sometimes I'll see a post that's like, "You're not hard to love, you just haven't found your person yet." And it makes me feel so much better. I think Gen Z is really good at turning heartbreak into growth. We'll take what we learn from a relationship, figure out what we want in the future, and keep going. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? How does Gen Z date? Well, we date in a way that's authentic, tech savvy, and open minded. We're not afraid to be ourselves, to set boundaries, and to walk away from something that doesn't feel right. We use apps and social media to meet people, but we also value deep emotional connections and real conversations. We love casual, creative dates, and we're open to all kinds of relationships, whether that's long distance, non traditional, or just a fun talking stage. We face challenges like ghosting and the paradox of choice, but we're also really good at supporting each other and learning from our experiences. Dating as a Gen Zer is such a roller coaster, but it's also so exciting because we're figuring it out in our own way. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What's dating like for you? Have you had any funny or sweet Gen Z dating moments? Maybe you've got a story about a talking stage that went on forever, or a date that totally surprised you. Whatever it is, I want to hear about it. You can share your stories in the comments on our YouTube channel or on our social media pages. I'm always so excited to read what you guys have to say. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future episodes. I'll be back soon with more fun topics, more stories, and more chats that make you feel like we're best friends hanging out. Until then, keep being your amazing self, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!